Good evening and welcome to the beginning of our track of somatics at large. I am really excited about this particular series because it's how different people are looking at their relationship to the Feldenkrais method and how it has spurred other people to go in many different directions. And our first guest, I'm super honored to be interviewing her. I met Jennifer Groves by it almost seems like accident a few months ago when I was teaching in Australia, and what a wonderful experience it was to suddenly find myself in the presence of someone who has done so much work in the somatic fields, from yoga to Feldenkrais to all the other different things that she's done, teaching all over the world. I mean, Jenny, I always call her Jenny, studied with Iyengar himself, and she was a founder of one of the first yoga studios in Byron Bay in Australia. And her own personal journey is what took her to studying the Feldenkrais method. And then from the Feldenkrais method, she became involved in Ruthie Alon's movement intelligence, which is what she's going to be speaking to us about today. But before I bring Jenny on, I just want to make sure that everyone who is here is oriented to how our chat works. Because if you've never done it before, you just want to take a moment and look. There's a chat thing on the side. Most of the people's devices, it'll be on the side. And maybe take a moment now to, if you want to chat, just introduce yourself. Or if you want to be silent, that's okay too. But you can start to speak amongst yourselves while the interview is going on, questions that come up or different experiences that you relate to. It makes part of the event kind of more for all of us. So without further ado, I'm delighted to introduce Jennifer Groves. Hey, Jenny.
Hi.
It's wonderful to see you.
Yes, likewise.
Right. We're talking from across the world. And I know that there's going to be a lot of people who are tuning in who have the very basic question: what is movement intelligence? We talk about emotional intelligence. What is movement intelligence?
Movement intelligence is the brainchild of Ruthie Alon. And what she's done is taken Feldenkrais and developed her own particular line of Feldenkrais. And movement intelligence is, would I say, streamlined, a bit more streamlined than Feldenkrais, where it addresses the issue of how do we improve bone density. And this came from a medical doctor asking Ruthie some years ago, what does Feldenkrais do for bones? And Ruthie thought about it, well, do you move well? But what does it do? She was getting older then. She's now in her 80s, and this question developed her to develop this entire program. Bones for Life was the original program, and then she spun off Walk for Life chairs, movement solutions, and movement intelligence. And that's where the work has sprung from.
So is movement intelligence kind of like the umbrella for all of these things, or is movement intelligence the newest thing?
The umbrella, yeah.
The umbrella for all of it?
Yes.
Okay. And when you think of those two words, movement intelligence, right? I mean, we think of, Feldenkrais said, it's not flexible bodies I'm after, it's flexible brains. It seems like Ruthie's wanting to take it even further into the action in some way. I don't know, maybe I'm projecting, but it was just something that I felt, that it's not just, go ahead.
She's brought it more into the standing vertical in the environment. You are learning to change the pathways neurologically, as Feldenkrais does. But the difference is this is more in standing. You do partner work, you're tuning inside, you also tune into your environment. It's the feedback between one and the other. And for me, it's given me a lot more core stability and strength. I've had to relearn all this.
You've had to relearn strength?
Yes. And it's not gym strength, We work with isometrics, we work with resistance, we work with all sorts of strategies, which I'll be talking about in the PowerPoint that I'm going to give soon.
Yeah. Oh, well, should we dive into it, or do you want to?
I think it's probably good, and then the questions will come from it.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah. So, would you like me to put it on now?
Sure.
Yeah.
And then that way we start to feel how you're developing your ideas here.
All right, I've just got to find a slideshow, play. Here we go. Okay, so there's about 21 slides here, and what I'm going to do is just talk through it. There'll be a couple of experiential processes, and please feel free to interrupt me because I love the live interaction.
Good. I'm sure the questions will come up.
Yeah. So, movement intelligence. Bones for Life, as I was saying before, is the first program that Ruthie developed. It's osteoprevention and reversal. I've had students reverse their osteoporosis. Chairs is the second program she developed, and it's the Bones for Life program designed in chairs for more limited movers. And this can be people that have postural issues or just people sitting in offices. We all sit too much in chairs. The third program she developed was Walk for Life, and she wanted to play with more the concept, well, how can you power more propulsion when you work? And she discovered this program with walking poles. It's a brilliant program. And these programs, some of them are lying on the floor, sitting in chairs, standing, walking outside. So you bring in the environment into all of these programs. The next one is solutions. This is Ruthie's latest one. I think it's the cream of the cake, if you want to say it that way. It's movement solutions for functional development. And what I love about this program, it's like you can teach people to do self-FI, and they can learn their own movement solutions for their dysfunction. It's absolutely brilliant.
I'm just going to jump in just to interrupt those people who are new to any of this. FI is functional integration, and it's our way in Feldenkrais to work with people one-on-one. So there's a tendency we all have to use initials. And so for those of you who've never heard that before, as Jenny's speaking, FI is functional integration and ATM is awareness through movement. Keep on going.
Okay, thank you for that. And the last program, it's a bit like Star Wars. Mindful Eating was actually Ruthie's first program that she developed, but she didn't really bring it to the forefront of the other programs until the others had been developed. And it's a very interesting program. I have a little story here. What you learn, it's not about eating slow, it's not about losing weight. A bunch of us in Israel, when we went to train with Ruthie, all these trainers were on the bus eating at all the restaurants everywhere, and the people noticed that they were eating everywhere but actually losing weight. What they found was that the stop button of when you full got developed, and a lot of people don't have a stop button. So it was really, really interesting. And for me, I just stop when I'm full, but a lot of people don't have that button, and it's a really interesting program. So I just wanted to talk a bit of background on that one. Okay, the next one. This is Ruthie alone, and wearing the very famous wrap, which I'll talk a bit about later in the PowerPoint. And Ruthie alone, where have I got my things here? Ruthie, 40 plus years, is an international master trainer of the Feldenkrais method. She's one of the original 13 that trained with Moshe in Tel Aviv. And the Movement Intelligence program is her legacy that she's leaving to the world. And for me, it's been the most brilliant program, and what I've been teaching for many years now. Okay, what is movement intelligence? This is covering some of the work we've done. It's an evolution of the work of Dr. Moshe Feldenkrais, founded by Ruthie Alon. I've shortened MI for movement intelligence. It's an experiential somatic work. And there's lots of other different somatic models, wonderful somatic models. This is one of them. Movement intelligence enables your body to move more effectively with gravity, cultivating improved gait and bone resiliency. So every step you take, you can change the direction of how the pressure is going through your bones. I have a little story here. My youngest child is now 23, avid sportsman. And I remember when he was little and we were walking through the streets of Mullumbimby, putting my hand on his head and feeling each step he took, I could feel this vibration. And then I thought, I put it on mine. I couldn't feel mine. So young children, if they're born with a healthy, alive system, they have this. We lose it. And you know, the wonderful thing is you're never too old to learn, to change these patterns. That's what I love about the work.
Let me ask you a question here. You know, how do we lose it?
Well, I think it's a number of things. It's the patterns you learn in your family of origin. It's gravitational forces bearing down on us all the time. The work you do, the emotional baggage that you carry, the emotional, how you are, emotions and movement are so interrelated. All those things support how we are with our body.
So I'm just going to go a little bit further with this in terms of questions that other people might have, as well as myself, because two things. One, I could say, why is it so important to feel a vibration from the earth through to my head? And then second part of that question would be, a lot of people would think that having like a soft footfall or a delicate landing is a preferred thing. So can you speak to that in terms of what it is that you're saying when we're talking about conducting a force through?
I'm going to be covering that in my PowerPoint.
Oh, well, then I'm going to stop asking you questions. This probably PowerPoint covers it all.
And if it's not clear for you, you ask me. I'm going to give you a couple of processes, some experiential work with that too.
Fantastic.
Yep, great. Mm-hmm. Good questions though, because these are the ones that's going to be happening for people as I'm going through this. Movement intelligence uses early developmental movement and evolutionary learning to restructure posture, alignment and stability. And this is a key to accelerated learning. So every process that you do has this basis. And I'll just keep going with that. What is movement intelligence? It's organic learning versus academic learning. You're not learning from a book, you're learning experientially from your body. And something different happens in the nervous system when you learn as you move. Movement intelligence influences how you interact with the environment, yourself and others, because it's not separate. Mind-body connection, habitual patterns, attitudes and postures and bone health. All these things come into our influence of how we walk each step we take. Movement intelligence supports the release of unconscious bodily face fears. People often find that when they're doing this work that things begin to change how they think. Anxiety can be dampened. One of my colleagues up in Brisbane came up with this term, functional assertiveness. I love it. She learned to be functionally assertive through this program. It's great. I love those words. are reprogramming the brain. All this you'll find happens in Feldenkrais, but the difference here is at how we can change the resonance of our bones. A paradoxical approach. Neurological diplomacy. We use this as a strategy in the movement intelligence. It's a paradoxical approach to movement re-education. What I've got here, this is so I can give you a slight, I might hold on that for a give you example later. I think it's better to do that. The next one, it encourages the functional side to mirror the dysfunctional side. So many models in my old yoga world, if you have a sore shoulder, you'll work on the sore shoulder. A lot of physios in their modelling, if you have a sore hip, they'll work on the sore hip. Often what we do with this work and Feldenkrais is we might work on the other side, or we might work on an ankle to affect the shoulder. So where the dysfunction is, isn't necessarily where the pain is. And it's such smart work. The paradoxical theory of change, this is endemic throughout the work. If you have resistance, you support the resistance. I might give you an example here. So I'm assuming you're all sitting at a chair. Yep. So if you sit in your chair and come to the middle of your chair. So you're not sitting, leaning to the back. And ideally you have your feet resting on the floor. Now, from here, as you sit, just notice how your weight is on your sit bones, on your buttocks. And if you pay attention, does one side of you feel a little bit lower? Is one buttock or is one sit bone a little bit lower? Is one flatter? Is one a little bit more forward? Usually people will find that one side is a little bit higher. Now, if you have a side of you that feels a little bit higher, what we're going to do is put your hand underneath that sit bone, underneath that side of the buttock, and just sit on it. It's really simple. Now, if you're someone that feels very symmetrical and there's no difference, you just choose a side. Put your hand under one side. If it's a hard wooden chair you're sitting on, it can get a bit hard on the knuckles. We're not going to be here long. And as you sit there with the hand underneath the buttock, bring your attention to your spine, the whole 24 vertebrae. And you can close your eyes if you want, or you can have them open, whatever suits you. And as you sit there, just visualize how each vertebrae stacks on top of the other, like a chain, all the way down to the pelvis. And just for a few simple breaths, breathe in normally. And as you breathe out, breathe your weight down onto that hand as you exhale. Don't worry about sitting up straight. Breathe your weight down. On your next exhalation, allow your weight to sink onto that hand. Okay, take your hand away. Now, notice how you're sitting. Something strange happens. Most people will feel that they drop in weight. Can you feel the difference? What we're doing here is we're working with this asymmetry. The brain, we have a left and right side. So what we're doing here is just working on one side. The brain, when you take the brain out of its fixity, it will notice the change. Let's just do the other side so we don't leave you there. Put the other hand underneath the other sit bone. And once again, just scan the spine and breathe the weight down onto that hand. Let your belly go. If you're holding the belly in, it's going to affect the weight shifting down. Take the hand away. And you might ask, if the weight sinks down, you're going to lose your height. Newton's first law, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So as we feel to sink down, there's a lengthening that happens. That's just a little example of the paradoxical theory of change. It's so you're working with the brain patterning rather than asking the system to stretch or to change, because the nervous system is so smart. Its design is absolutely incredible. And when you pay attention to it, learning happens in a very different way. So that's a little example. It's about building relationships. Here's a simple map of the homunculus. Now, we build relationships between the skeletal and the muscular system, the ring muscles, I'm going to talk about this later, and the nervous system. It's neurological reprogramming. So, and the plasticity of the brain, that the brain has the capacity to change. Norman Deutsch has done a lot of beautiful work in this area and bringing in, showing different modalities that work with it. Feldenkrais, movement intelligence, work with it. What else do I want to say here? One of the things that we work very strongly with in the program is our hands. If you have a look at the hand on this map, it maps, a big part of our brain is involved around our hand. We use our hands in movement intelligence as tools. Hands are tools for feeling things inside ourselves. We'll take our hands to different parts of the body and then we bring in movement. Movement is the reset button for the brain. Hands are also tools for feeling things outside in our environment. So we use our hands a lot, and we use our hands with partner work. What else here? I think that's all I need to say on that one. And breaking the symmetry I talked about just before in the last slide. Now we come here to family joint therapy. It's like movement intelligence is like family therapy for the joints. And I covered this a bit earlier. Rather than working on a specific joint and its dysfunctional pattern, we work with the entire orchestra. If one note is out, it can be tuned by the others. It's a brilliant concept, isn't it? What is good posture? I had another photo, but I decided to bring in a photo to make this presentation more very personal in what I'm doing. There's a lot of talk and thinking about good posture. What does it mean to you? Well-meaning advice: sit up straight, shoulders back, chest up, stomach in, causes a lot of bad backs. Sit up straight and be still. Children are taught that from very young. Children are meant to move. And here's a picture of one student at the end of a class that you can look on the left. This is her normal posture after doing a process. Here she is sitting. And for her, that is a really big difference of where she normally is standing, or sitting, I should say. So, next one. Now, in Australia, I've got here honouring the Indigenous elders photographed in this presentation. One of the things we do in Australia, if we're showing a photograph of someone that has passed, we acknowledge them. So we have that there, our cultural heritage here. And here it's showing a couple of old photographs of Indigenous people on the left here, carrying, it looks like it's paperbark bamboo, not a brilliant photo, it's the best I could find, and carrying loads on their head with a posture that's not collapsed. And this was before they sat in chairs, they would have squatted, they lived more closely in contact with the earth, which is what our culture has lost today. The one on the right, just a beautiful photo of throwing a spear. You can think of the old movements, throwing a spear, washing, sitting, squatting on your heels, swimming, running. A whole lot of the old movements have been lost in our repertoire. We go to gyms. We can learn this through the Movement Intelligence Program. Here's another one. The left one is taken of Ruthie doing a training in Australia, in Mullumbimby, some years ago. And then when I was in Korea teaching one time, I went to a folk village there, and lo and behold, the traditional Korean people wearing water carrying on their head. Now, most Westerners, if we carry on our head, our neck is so compressed, it takes our head out of alignment. What we do in the program is we actually make turbans. I won't be doing it today, but we make turbans out of 7 meters of wrap. We use a wrap as a tool a lot in the program for different things. And we make a wrap, put it on the head, and when people have found a sense of alignment and gait, we introduce the wrap to help to give some isometric resistance to weight bearing. Okay, how do we tune our instrument? Working smarter, not harder. We use 20% effort is sufficient for building bone, the vibration that I'm going to go into in a little while. All we need is 20% effort. And in answer to your question earlier, walking lighter with light feet doesn't give you a vibration. If you're walking, you can hear my sound. If you're walking too heavy, you're going to find, and if the joints aren't lubricated and working well, that heaviness is going to impact hip replacements, knee replacements, all sorts of things happen when the effort becomes in walking. Our nervous system learns by ease and lack of effort. This is the prime design of the program. Finding a consistent rhythm and a domino effect. Where am I here? Okay.
What do you mean by a domino effect?
Well, what we mean by a domino effect, let's just go into this. Oh no, I'll go into this now and we'll rehash it. It's the best way to do it. So if you sit down on your chair, and again, you're in the middle of the chair or towards the front of your chair, don't lean back, have your feet on the floor. And what I want you to do here is to just lift your heels and let them fall on the floor. So let them just fall. Don't press them. Don't tap them with intention. Just let the weight of the leg drop them. And you'll find that a little resonance happens. Can you feel that?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, if you do it light, if you control it and go light, what happens? Nothing happens. It's your foot is moving, but there's no resonance going through. So drop it again. So there's a resonance that happens. I'm going to be doing more of this later. That's just this example. Now, when you're finding a consistent rhythm with vibration going through the body, we're looking for a vibration going from foot to head, back to foot. So it's a streamlined vibration that you've got going through the system. One other little image is I've got a one of these lovely little things. And so if you've got really nice sort of movement going, so if you're moving, there's a vibration that's going through. If there's no movement, what you're going to find is joints get wear and tear. And I'll cover more of it later, but hopefully that works. Does that work for you now? Does it answer your question?
So by domino effect, you're
Yes.
speaking about how the vibration kind of echoes up through the body. Is that how you're using it?
How it streams. One other way I can give you an example of water going through a hose pipe.
Mm-hmm.
If you have water going through a hose pipe, it's streaming through the middle. When the hose pipe gets bent, it streams through this line. When the hose pipe gets bent a lot, what happens to the pressure? It stops.
Mm-hmm.
So the blood flow. So what we're looking for is finding a gate, and you can teach the system how to do this, finding a walking gate where the rhythm and the pressure generating from foot to head, Newton's first law, this brings in the anti-gravity movements, and these are the movements that build bone each step you take. It's quite a process. It's we get on the floor, we use all sorts of things, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
We'll go a little bit more with it. Because you could talk an hour on this. So giving people a taste. We use global patterning to affect postural and neurological change. So we're working with the whole body. Another word of this is body mapping. Many people, it's very difficult for them to feel different parts of themselves when they're moving. They can think of one part or two parts, but it's very difficult to feel everything. And that's a learning that happens.
So it's interesting, of course, because, you know, the theme of our entire series is the map is the territory.
Yes.
So yes. Do you feel that the body mapping relates to that in some way?
Definitely. Yeah. I've got a quote here from Moshe: when you know what you are doing, then you can do what you want. It's a brilliant quote. And I know from me personally in my yoga world, I knew what I was doing in my yoga world, but when it came to walking, standing, bending, lifting, I didn't know. I had certain parameters of how I thought I should move, but there were so many more options for me. And that's what got me out of pain. I ended up in chronic pain. And my journey of getting out of chronic pain was finding this work. Okay, now here we go. Bouncing on the heels. We've actually just did a simple movement before of lifting the heels and dropping them. This is the bread and butter of the Movement Intelligence program. It's taken from Moshe Feldenkrais did bounce on the heels. He did some bouncing in his work. Ruthie she found some other influences that brought this into the program. Each lesson that we do, each process has bouncing on the heels and rhythm. It's like a reset button. Alexander Mikulin was I've got that here, a Russian engineer, a Russian aeronautics engineer who had a heart attack. The men in his family had heart attacks, and he wanted to not die and have a heart attack like his members of other males in his family. So he developed what he calls vibrogymnastics. where it's bouncing on the heels. Gyms have vibration plates. The difference is when you stand on a vibration plate, you're standing on a machine that's doing it for you. You can develop every step you take to have this resonance. This is what I find so exciting. And the influences on people's lives is absolutely brilliant, what I've seen over the last 16 years. And what happens is it encourages the blood to rise up the body. The heart pumps the body down to the extremities. It's the muscles that pump the blood back up to the heart. And a healthy person, the blood comes back at the same rate, a similar rate. When someone isn't so healthy, it takes longer to move back. One of the ways that you can do this is to bounce on the heels. And when you bounce on the heels in a naturally aligned spine, it stimulates healthy bone growth by increasing blood flow to deliver nutrients and remove metabolic waste. So I will give you a bit of a sample here. Let's sit in our chair again, towards the front of our chair. And what we're going to do is we're going to just tap the heels, just double tap. Like tap, 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 tap. And you're looking for a heartbeat rhythm. And just let them fall. You're not pressing them hard. Tap, tap. Now, tapping the heels isn't quite enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a tone. And Ruthie took this from, well, how can we increase the resonance? Cats purr. And it's been known that cats purring on people's broken pelvises has helped to heal a pelvis. Cats purr in the wild when they're happy and when they're injured. It's the resonance that actually helps the bones. So we're going to add a tone, pum pum, P-U-M, at the same time that we tap the heels, and it's going to be in a heartbeat rhythm. So it's pum pum, pum pum.
Pum, pum.
So say
Pum,
the rhythm and tap the heels.
Pum pum. 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 Pum pum.
Feel it through your body. Pum pum. Through your leg. Through your spine.
Pum pum.
Keep going. Through your head.
Pum pum. Pum
through your face.
Pum pum.
Let that stop. Now, what sensation do you feel?
Kind of like the way I feel sometimes after a awareness through movement lesson, kind of like a feeling of movement of life force, or I don't want to call it chi, but that kind of life in vibration in the face, in the arms.
Yes. We do this sitting, we do it standing, we do it lying on the floor. And it teaches people how to find this resilience. And we're looking for this domino effect end to end. Let's just do one other thing. With your hands, you're going to tap your chest. But it's just it's bending from the wrists, yeah? And let's do the pump pump and the heels at the same time. Pump pump, pump pump, pump pump, pump pump, pump pump,
Pum pum.
pump pump,
Pum
pump
pum.
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 pump. Let that
Pum
go. Feel the effect. Now, if we want to take it to the top of the head, we'll do a little safety mechanism first. take your tongue and place it to the roof of the mouth, right at the top, soft palate, and gently press it up. And then adjust the fontanelle, that's the top of the head, adjust the fontanelle over the tip of the tongue. I'm just doing this so you've got a sense of it. So the tongue, adjust the head, keep your head there, feel your sit bones on the chair, and then we're going to very tap with loose fists on the head. Pum pum, 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 and then slide your hands down. Now, for some people, taking their hands and putting their hands on their head can be really uncomfortable for their shoulders. I didn't show variations of how to get the hands up there. I've just kept it really brief and simple. What do you sense now? How are you sitting?
Oh, I haven't even thought about how I was sitting.
Oh. Yeah.
I was so busy feeling my skull.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that I'm just sitting straight without thinking about sitting straight.
Yeah. And
where I began by thinking about sitting straight.
That's the difference. If you think it, and this is a difference in a way of academic learning to organic learning, when the body learns, it's different to thinking and learning to tune in and listen to what the body and feeling without interfering with a lot of our patterns of how we should do it or how we could do it, just how it is, being present. And this is where with anxiety, muscular tension, all sorts of things can help to be reset. Let's move on. And bone loss often occurs as we age. Deterioration results from an imbalance between cleansing and nourishing. Bouncing on the heels helps to increase blood flow and support both phases. Now, Wolff's Law, this is another thing we discuss in the Bones for Life trainings. The bones in a healthy person or animal adapts to the loads it's placed under. And over time, it remodels itself to resist the increasing load. So the difference is we work with weights in the program, but 500-gram weights. And we bring it into the context of posture through arms, through the spine, through the legs. And some people start off with just even less weights. And when you get alignment and you've got a little bit of weight loaded on, it's not becoming muscular, it becomes a part of the system. If you're using weights that are too strong for learning postural correction, then the muscles, we're not just working with the muscles, we work with the brain and the skeleton. There's also another one. Doug in New York, one of my colleagues over there, also said there's the SAID principle here, which is a term that classical sports medicine people use. The SAID principle is specific adaptation to imposed demands. And it describes how the physical adaptations develop when the body is placed under stress. I'd like to take from that context, take out the word stress, but when alignment and rhythm and coordination and streaming is brought into the equation, bones adapt. And as I say, I've had students reverse their osteoporosis. The next one is organising movement around the sensation of lengthening. Now, we often work with the Bones for Life wrap. It's 7 meters of wrap that we wrap around. Because we all don't have a wrap, I can't do that right now. But what I might do is add a process here for you. So let's get a sense of how we can organise movement around a sensation of lengthening. I'd like you to stand up. So often in these processes, we're walking around, we're standing, we're lying. So I've had to design around this interview around standing in front of a screen. Yeah. So what I want you to do here is to just stand on your feet. Don't do anything in particular. Notice how you're standing. Where does your sensation go? If it was in a class, I'd be getting all the students to call out. Is it their thighs, their buttocks? Is there pain? The shoulders, is there a difference? Is one foot feel more pressured? Okay. What I want you to do here is you're going to, in fact, hold onto your chair front or your computer desk. So you've just got your hands resting on the computer. A lot of people don't need this, but some people that have more balance impairment, I'm doing this for safety. You can have your hands just in front of you on something. Let's bounce on the heels again. Pump, 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 pump. Soft knees. Pump, pump. Don't have them bent, but soft. Pump, 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 and let that stop. Just notice how you're standing. Did anything change?
I didn't want to stop.
Maybe not. Huh? Sorry?
I said I didn't want to stop.
Yeah. Let's make it a bit more axial. So what you're going to do, you're going to cross the hands over, interlace the fingers, yeah, and bring them onto your belly. Now, sometimes when people bounce on the heels, if the lumbar is problematic and very soft, it can be painful. So now what we're doing with our arms, when you cross the midline, what it does, it sets up an axial line. Now, and what it's doing is you've got your forearms and now connected to the pelvis and the chest. So it's supporting the bridge of the lumbar with a bar. Let's bounce again. Pump, 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 pump. I know for me, I feel more power. Pump, 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 pump. Take your hands away and notice how you feel. When you think of your alignment, what do you sense?
A solidness, a sense of stability.
Now, normally I would get students to walk around because when you walk, often the horizon lifts or lowers, people's eyes, people's sensings, people's space can change. So, but I'm limiting it to being in front of a screen, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so come back again. So lengthening is the primary focus in movement intelligence, but it's in the context of a dynamic rhythmic pulse instead of a statically held postural goal, which was in my old yoga world. And that's great in the yoga world, but my system needed to find something different. And I was looking for a while to find how I could do that, because I was from doing yoga, I became very hypermobile. And I just needed to find how could I stabilize. And you're looking for the lengthening to be an automatic response instead of an imposed correction. That's the big difference. An automatic response, so your system does it rather than imposing a correction. And we're looking for lengthening is skeletal alignment of bones around the axis of gravity, guided by propelling forces. Propulsion comes through what we're going to move into, axis and wave. Now, axis and wave is, they're the two primary principles that are involved with posture and moving in the gravitational field. This is the caduceus, the medical model, which is, here's the axis line down here. Does my cursor show up here?
Yes.
It does, okay. So the axial line, and then you've got the wave goes around the axis. And then here you've got the rod of Asclepius, if I pronounce that right, where, so it's a really ancient image. And it's quite remarkable that the medical field and the Greeks worked this with principles. So I've got here some of the bones for life processes, jellyfish breathing, silken scarf along a roller, Marengo in the strip. The Bones for Life students and teachers will know this. It'll be a gobbledygook for someone else, but that support axis is narrow pelvis, hand on the head, bow and arrow, Bones for Life wrap. What we did, just to get a sense of the axial line, was to stand with the arms crossed, to feel that. If you think when we crossed our arms over, it helped to give the spine this beautiful axial line. Now, I'm going to give more experiential processes here. The ring muscles, these I think are absolutely incredible. Another name for them is the sphincters. We use the sphincters in Australia, but I hear a lot of other countries find the sphincters sound funny. They use the ring muscles, same thing. Paula Carberg in Israel has done a lot of work with her ring muscles. Ruthie adds the ring muscles into the movement intelligence program. I've worked with them a lot. This has been one of the models I've used to elicit stability and to also elicit when someone has chronic tone, how to release tone. I've done a lot of work with this with pelvic incontinence, works beautifully. I had abdominal surgery a decade ago, and my recovery was so quick having access to the ring muscles. So when you have a look, this is like the mirror of the homunculus again. The hands play such an important role in our nervous system. So does the mouth and the lips, and the feet and the ears and the eyes. So these parts are the access to the ring muscle. So if you have a weak pelvic floor, you can work with the feet and toes, you can work with the mouth, you can work with the ears, you can work with the fingers. Remember the system, it's an integrated system, the orchestra I was talking about earlier. What else did I want to say on that? The ring muscles, it's a primordial system from single cell creatures. You think of a jellyfish swimming. It goes long and narrow, short and wide, long and narrow, short and wide. Think of a, I pressed something there. I don't know what I've done. Anyway, it's gone. If you think of a squid, the same thing. How they swim. Now, this movement is also in our system. And we, some terms, I've spent a whole 10 weeks on ring muscles. And the differences it brings in for students, I just find absolutely incredible. So it's a primordial system from single cell creatures without skeletons. Now, then as evolution happened, skeletons were formed. You can think of centipedes. worms without a skeleton, they do this movement as they crawl along the floor. Then vertebrates were happening, creatures on all fours, creeping, crawling, creatures on all fours, and then humans coming up to standing. Sphincters are still a part of our system. So when you tune back to the early evolutionary past, you can actually change the system how it is today. It's such clever thinking, such clever work. And sphincters are a major component in how we stabilise and mobilise in gravity. So with the bouncing on the heels, getting the spring happening through the body, adding with the sphincters, you learn tone. For me, the biggest thing with sphincters is learning recruiting tone. A lot of my tone was low tone hypermobility with other bits that were high tone. And when you work with the sphincters, it just switches. Don't ask me how it happens. I'm not a neurologist. It's quite incredible. So what I want to do here is a little example. Sitting in your chair, sit at the front of your chair. And we're going to be doing a movement where we're going to be bringing the hands together. We're not pressing. It's just drawing the hands and fingers together. Now, in my Feldenkrais training, the Feldenkrais practitioners will know about the bell hand. I'm bringing it to the sphincters in a simple thing here. So what I want you to do is to just come up to stand your normal way. Don't worry about come up and sit down. And I want you to give yourself a mark out of 10. How easy is it for you? 10 is easy. 1 is really difficult. Where do you bring your attention to? Is it your knees? Is it your belly? Is it your back? Is it your neck? Okay. Now what I want you to do here, the moment that you detach your pelvis, the moment that the pelvis detaches from the chair, at that time, I want you to draw the fingers together, come up to stand. And when you're coming up to stand, they've let go. Now, the moment you feel efforting when you go to sit, draw the fingers at that moment and then let go as you sit. We're going to do that a couple of times. So you're not drawing the fingers as you come up to stand. You wait for that point of efforting, then you do the fingers. And you can do that a few times. If you've got a knee that's a little bit problematic, take that foot half a step forwards. So if anybody has a knee that is problematic, take that foot half a step forwards to the other foot. And once more. And now do it without the hands, feel the difference. What's it like? Most people feel that they're heavy. Sphincters are an anti-gravity lever. I'm going to give you one other thing too. Purse your lips. So we're going to add both these movements. As you come up to stand, at the moment when you feel that you're efforting, purse your lips, draw the fingers together. And then you've let go when you're standing. So you stand, so you're only doing it for that moment of when you're efforting. Purse the lips and let go at that moment. When you're standing, the hands will let go. Now do it without the hands and lips. I know, I just feel heavier. It's quite different.
It's absolutely fascinating. And,
Yes.
you know, Jenny, I feel like there's so much that you're giving us, and I'm just so sorry that we're running out of time to be able to go deeper into any of these things. I bet you have a whole bunch more, and we're kind of at our ending here.
All right.
Is there some way that you could wrap things up for us?
I can just do this really fast. Yeah.
Okay.
This is just a picture of daily tuning, working with a towel to develop axis, a doorway for developing axis. This is just a quick photo of a Bones for Life wrap taken of a training that I was doing in Taiwan, and how we use the wrap to support the neck. To support the neck, to support the lumbar, wrapping around different parts of the body, bouncing on the heels. We always have a test movement, pre-test, post-test, so you can feel the difference. And these are the primary principles that we've talked about, most of them. Imagination we use, and this is where Bones for Life is across the world. Movement intelligence is across the world. Yes, it goes so fast.
It does, and it's so rich. There's so many questions that we have, and so you know, I hope that people have been chatting along as we're going through this, and of course we'll be having a panel discussion about this after the entire somatic track is over. So I just want to remind everybody, Jenny, it's been an amazing experience. I've really enjoyed myself having a chance to get up and down out of the chair and feeling that change. And just want to remind everybody that this video will be ready. You know, within a couple of hours, they'll put it up, and then it will be available for free for 48 hours. So if you felt like you got too much information and you want it all again, make sure you tune into those within those 48 hours. Or of course, you can buy the whole package. And remember that if you do buy the package, that if you do it while the summit is going on, that we will be able to give you a $25 discount. So Jenny, again, I want to thank you so much. I'm just taking away the sharing and giving you a chance to say goodbye to everybody. And I hope that we have a chance to meet again soon, whether it's in Australia or online.
Maxine's house, it's beautiful. Thank you very much, Lavina. It's been a pleasure.
It was. So fast. What was that?
It went so fast.
It did. It was one of the fastest hours ever. So thank you, and we'll see you all. Don't forget, by the way, those of you who are tuning in, that at 8:30 Eastern Time, Dorothy will be giving another wonderful awareness through movement lesson. So be sure to join us for that. All right. Good night.